Hey guys, just want to give you a quick tip. If you're a guy that struggles with the vice of anger, I struggle with this as well. Okay, so I'm saying this from personal experience. I was listening to a talk by Father Chad Ripperger. If you guys don't know who he is, he's an exorcist priest. Very wonderful talks he has on YouTube on Sensus Fidelium. But recently he posted a video about how to overcome anger by becoming meek, right? Now, when people think of meekness, they usually they associate it with weakness, right? They think like, oh, the guy's a doormat, he gets stepped on. People kind of have this misunderstanding about Christianity being like a pacifist religion, especially when they quote, Christ when he says, if someone strikes you in the left cheek, turn to the right cheek as well, something to that effect. And people think like, oh, that means you just get pushed around and beat up. Two things. Number one, context for that Bible quote. What Jesus was saying is that if a Roman hits you on the left cheek, when Romans do that, right? Because he's associating that with the Romans. If someone hits you with the left cheek, that's usually meaning like, hey, you're less of a man than I am, right? I'm hitting you with my left hand, the backhand, right? The B slap, you know. So he's saying that, but then he said like turn the right cheek as well. In other words, he says like, oh, you want to hit me? Hit me like an equal. Like hit me like you and I are the same, like equals, right? So it's a different context. That's not what this video is about though. It's about anger. So how do you overcome anger? Well, for me personally, there's two things that I've found and I have to remind myself to do that have been very, very effective in overcoming anger. Number one, falling to your knees and begging God and asking God for the grace to calm down. If you go to God with an open heart, with an open mind, you pour yourself out into Him, and you're truly not you don't reserve anything. You give it all to the Lord. He's going to give you the grace, right? You know, we hear this spot in the gospel where Jesus is talking about, seek and you shall find, right? I believe he was really talking about virtue, because I think that's the one prayer that God will not refuse is if you ask him for virtues, right? If you ask him to help me, especially humility, be careful with that prayer, okay? I can tell you right now, you ask God for humility and you mean it, boy, he's going to humble you, okay? You ask God for suffering, I think venerable, or almost, I think blessed now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Blessed Fulton Sheen would say like asking God to send you suffering is a dangerous prayer, because he's going to do it because he wants you to become holy. So you do that, right? He's going to give you grace. Now, we are not just spiritual beings, right? We are composites. We're body and soul. So what can you do physically to help you overcome? So what's a practical tip to help you overcome anger? You guys will probably know what I'm going to say. It's right behind me. It's hitting a heavy bag, okay? Punching a heavy bag, kicking a heavy bag, getting yourself physically exhausted. It's really hard to be angry, okay? Now, you can get angry at the bag. You can start beating it up, start hitting it. Obviously, make sure you warm up properly so you don't injure yourself. But I found that really works well for me, you guys. And that works well for a lot of guys I talk to. They get way more calm when they just strike the bag, right? Or do some sort of exercise, do some workout. Because once your body's physically exhausted, it's really hard to think negatively, right? Now, when I was younger, I used to listen to a lot of Tony Robbins back when I was kind of like into new agey stuff, and I don't recommend it, honestly. But there was some truth to what he said. He said he's something to the effect of, if you are in a bad state, just change your state, right? Now he's not talking about like moving from Oregon to Texas or something, like in my situation, or Washington to Texas. What he's saying is, if you are feeling depressed, do something a non-depressed person would do, right? So for example, jog, run, do burpees, smile. You do those things, your body's actually going to adjust, right? Because often when we're angry, we're building up all this emotion inside of us, right? And we have no and we have no way to release it in some way. And a lot of people in the world, they'll tell you to release it in really bad sinful ways. Like they'll tell you to drink or get out, do promiscuous stuff. That's not the answer. That's not the Christian answer. Christian answer is pray to God, acknowledge that this is a result of original sin, and it might be a thorn in your side that God's putting there, so that way you do pray to him. I've come to that conclusion because I've spoken to priests about this, right? And I was reading a lot of Saint Teresa of Avila, and sometimes when I read the saints, you guys, honestly, I get really discouraged. I don't know about you, but I look at, like really great saints like Saint Teresa of Avila, and I look up to her, and I've read the whole the devil in the castle. And she's talking about these things that I'm just like, wow, I am like, to never venial sin. Like that sounds really hard to do. And I was talking to a priest about it, and he was telling me that, first of all, you're a married man. So, because I think a lot of guys make this mistake, they really want to get into the spiritual life, and then they start reading like Lives of the Saints, and then they think like, oh, if this monk on Mount Athos is doing this, I should do this too. You can take their lessons, but you got to acknowledge your state in life as well. There's a lot of saints, especially Saint Francis de Sales. I think he is the perfect balance between that, because he is speaking to lay people. So you got to keep that in mind. If you're reading Saint Teresa of Avila, and this is what my priest told me, is keep in mind that she's speaking to nuns, right? She's not speaking to laity. So we have a different state in life. But anyway, something he told me is that sometimes God will just kind of allow these imperfections in you, so that way you actually go to him more. Because sometimes if he takes away your imperfection or the defect that you have right now, you may never pray again, right? You might just be so totally satisfied and then never come to it. And I've kind of come to that conclusion, because I've noticed that when things are going really well and really good, I don't pray nearly as hard as when things are going bad, right? And that could be just a bad defect of mine, right? I still, I'll still pray when things are going well, and I'll thank God for those things. But I notice that my prayers aren't as intense. They're not as, there's not as much fervor as when, hey, I'm struggling, right? Like, hey, I need help, right? And that could be just a fault of mine, but that's just what I've noticed, right? That's just what I've noticed. And you guys can let me know what you think in the comments below. But yeah, that's all I have to say today. If you're getting angry, work out, exercise, pray to God. There's a great prayer online called the Choleric's Prayer. It's called the Litany of Patience. Highly recommend you guys check it out. I think if you're someone who does get anger problems, I would read that prayer slowly and try to make it a habit to say it every day. So hope you guys have a wonderful day. Viva Christo Rey. God bless you all. See y'all next time.